This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles, on the Rockstar Radio Network. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it, how to identify and avoid publishing predators, what opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms, how to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd on the Rockstar Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Hi there, top of the day to all of you. We have another great edition of your Guide to Book Publishing, and my guest today is someone who I've actually followed on a couple of LinkedIn groups, one the Author You group, and as well as his own group, and he's created a brand new one that he will tell you about as we go along, so you can join in the party, so to speak. But Ira Blacker has really been around, and what's great about Ira is that he has a very broad background. He understands sales, he understands media, he understands advertising. He has a deep dive into understanding what printing is all about. And back in the early 90s, he founded a company called Printing Source Inc., and you can find that at PDDink.com, which is now a media company. PD, Paul David, Dink. I got it. A media company that does a lot of commercial printing. So it could be catalog printing, book printing, magazine printing, brochure printing, label printing, all kinds of printing that would be absolutely complementary and supporting you and your author needs. So that's a great resource to have. He's a primary blogger for the Printing by Design, which I would recommend that you sign up for and get involved in that. And he's also knows a heck of a lot about music. And from he co-founded the American Talent International in the early 70s. So he's tap danced with folks like ZZ Top and Rod Stewart and Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles, who were just recently in Colorado at Red Rocks. So we have a lot that we can go through with today, but I thought that it would be really great because of Ira's background from the printing as well as the design, as the advertising, that we're going to be able to get into marketing strategies. We're going to get into copy editing, do's and don'ts to grab attention. And just what's going on in this wide world of writers and publishing today. So welcome, Ira. Glad to have you on your Guide to Book Publishing.
I'm honored to be here, Doctor. It is truly my pleasure.
Okay, so let's tap dance a little bit. You wrote a recent blog about social networking. And you came up with some quick steps. And I have said, Ira, for a long time that if you're still digging in your heels on social media, for crying out loud, get over it and stop digging your heels on. This is your town hall. So let's go through some of those quick steps that you really talk about.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I think it's important, like with anything, to understand the concept. It is a form of marketing and sales like any other. It's just the newest. It does not mean you should ignore the older, tried and true ones. It means especially if you're going to be a self-publisher, get over the fact that simply because you wrote a book, you build it, they're going to come. This is a fallacy. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to see your book, did you make any sales? No. You have to get out there and literally learn a new business. The concept of the social networking part of marketing is really like a train going down two tracks. You really need to pay attention to both tracks if you don't want to wreck. First and foremost, when you do this, and this should probably start before or as you're writing your book, if you're concerned about sales, and that is like any business model, you need to define your niche. Who are your potential readers? Who are you writing the book for? Are you writing a romance? Are you writing a thriller? Are you writing a children's book? Understand your market. Now, getting into social networking, you need to be able to utilize these various social networking sites like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and search out not just who your market is, but how you market to those people. The reason why I say there's a dual track is that you can acquire business, you can market directly to people on these sites. I think at this point I'm now getting more business and more reaction from LinkedIn than I am from Google in organic search, where I do reasonably well. But by the same token, there is a secondary trick that you must learn, you must pay attention to, because it basically you're creating a feeding frenzy, so to speak, when you market not just directly to your potential customer, if you will, or reader, but you are also paying attention to Google, that everything you do in the social network, how does Google look at this? Google has a thing that they've come up with in their algorithms, meaning how they define what comes up high in search and what does not, and given an extraordinary amount of importance in the last months to what they refer to as an author expert or author authority. In other words, they will give you more credit, so to speak, in the ranking as an expert author than they may just for what you place on your own website. So what you do with respect to your post has a double impact. One, the direct connection to the reader of the post or blog. Two, that Google's robots, so to speak, how they search and find these experts to create their ranking algorithm, also is looking at everything you post. They're going to look at it more so if you understand that the website is your storefront. The website is like the hub on a wheel. Everything that goes into and out of that hub is a spoke on that wheel, so that if you post in LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you have a link back to your website or your blog site, which is also linked back to your website. When I post, for example, in Pinterest, for example, which is an 8-ranked site, Google rank sites 0 through 10. Pinterest is a super important site. It's the fastest rising social networking site in history, more so than LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, believe it or not.
You know, Ira, I have a question. Would you make a note to come back to it? Because I'd love to have you, a la Google, do a ranking of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have Pinterest down as 8. So who are the ones above it?
Well, it's an easy thing to do. I mean, Pinterest is right near the top. MySpace is but there are others that are all important. The main thing is any site that ranks so the 5 or better in Google's ranking, and this is easy to find out. I use Chrome as my browser of choice. I frankly don't sign in because I don't want Google knowing that much about me, other than what I want them to know. And you can get a plugin, it's free, from Google, called the Google Toolbar. That allows you to see the ranking of every single site you go to, including Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like. And when you see that ranking, as well as it also ranks for Alexa, which also judges traffic, let's face it, math is very simple. If 20 million people are showing up at one site and 3 million are at another site, it's obviously you want the attention where there are 20 million people, or potential customers, if you will. So that's how they're ranked, and it's an easy way to figure it out by getting that toolbar.
All right. So we just go in and get the ranking and get the app and check it out. All right. So I interrupted you. Keep going.
Let's see. So anyway, so sometimes what I also do as I reinforce some of my posts, where I'll post in Pinterest Now, there's a link back to my blog in the Pinterest post. But also many of these sites, like Pinterest, like Google's Plus One, super important. Why? Google owns it. YouTube, why? Google owns it. Currently having my first video produced simply for that reason. But within a post I will make in Pinterest, it allows you to repost it elsewhere. I can then resend it as a tweet, resend it as a Facebook link, so that I'm creating like a round robin where literally I'm using Twitter to promote my link in Pinterest. It just gives it that much more authority, kind of like the authority you get when somebody retweets a post in Twitter. Google pays a lot of attention to favoriting and retweeting, more so than the original post itself.
Is there a certain verbiage that you should put in the opening lines of a post that will reinforce that authority or expertise? That if robots are looking for certain words that say that?
For example, the post starts, the discussions don't necessarily carry the same weight. LinkedIn, I think, because all the groups are essentially closed, that stuff is not even tracked by Google, to my knowledge, from what I've seen with my analytics. But when you do your post, you want to do two things. People can Google this, you know. A lot of this information is smack dab right there in one's face. It's where I get it from. You Google it. If you look at any of the blogs that I've written, the blog has a title, like Quick Steps to Social Networking, the latest. It's got a date, August 25th, 2013. Right next to it is a little icon that shows the author, and my name is next to it, Ira Blacker. Google looks for that. There's that guy Ira again. He's authored another one. And with that in your post, and Google has a little bit of code that they want you to use to establish your author authority. It's not a big deal if one is not you sure how to deal with any kind of code like that, making sure that you've used it correctly. It's an inexpensive fix. And anybody can contact me through LinkedIn. I can recommend somebody to them who can deal with it, just to make sure that everything you write is automatically recognized by Google.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm losing you, and I don't know if we're picking it. Okay.
Okay. So the issue is when you post. If you establish your blog with your author authority, that your name is in there as the listed author, that's what Google looks for. So when you post, you want a title that has...
Okay, so hold that thought. We're going to be right back. This is Judith Briles. My guest is Ira Blacker.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
change the way you publish online. WaveCloud is a new forum for authors to manage all their books' information in one place from start to finish, including pricing and listing summary. To learn more or sign up for email updates, visit wavecloud.com.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, with us is Ira Blacker, and he knows a heck of a lot about printing, about social media, about advertising, about branding, about everything that authors and writers need to get their head around. And we are really talking about all things social networking right now, and some of the things that Google likes and the things that Google doesn't like. And we took a break there, and Ira, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Great. One of the things that you did bring up was about how to address when posting on the social networks, title, etc. Title, from my vantage point, should at the very least be clever. You're attempting to catch eyeballs. There are many famous and highly successful copywriters, direct mailers, people who are marketeers, if you will, who believe in shock value of titles. Get the people's attention. Now, shock value is something that may be an antithesis into the mindset of authors who tend to be most times conservative. But the key is get someone's attention with a title. It should be clever. It should be concise. It should, in a way, explain about the post, but then add what I do. And when I'm now moderating 5 groups, and in each group I insist that the comments box must be used, because the comments box, that's your sell point to explain what's in the blog and your further chance when posting to gain the attention. You're explaining what's in the blog, and you're telling people what the benefits are, keyword benefits, are if they read it. People do not care or want to know about what you have to offer. They do care about what benefits them. Sorry, that's human nature, and that works in sales and marketing. So you need to explain those benefits. So when you post, clever title, explain those benefits. It's like, my background is from the music business, and I was a publisher, a songwriter, still get the occasional royalty, never had a hit, but I did know how to explain the craft to my clients. Not a lot different from copywriting and somewhat book printing. There's a beginning, a middle, and end to a song, the same way there is in a book. There is structure. And the cleverness of a hit song is a good idea when you look to create titles, not just for a book, but when you market the book. Search idioms, colloquialisms. Search the newspaper for current events. Do a twist on them. If anybody remembers Duran Duran from the 80s, their big breakthrough hit was "Hungry Like the Wolf." That was an idiomatic expression. I'm as hungry as a wolf. So you want to be clever with those titles.
Okay, so that also, and then that you're right. So that those duplicates all make total sense. All right, so we've got some stuff on social media. Now, other things that you wanted to get into was involved. I think it's really imperative that you talked about, because that leads into what you're saying. Search those old titles and the things that were familiar and sound alike, that you can morph and modify just a little bit, that people will get into their heads. So, what about the grabbers and the copy side that you've seen that people routinely make mistakes in? Well, and how can they modify that?
Right. One of the things that, like I said, always amazes me, and I said this early on to you, is that writers, somehow in the back of my mind, I think that they should have the total grasp of the written word. This is not true, apparently, when it comes to marketing. The written word for a novel is different than the written word for the marketing of the novel. And the key thing to be researched by any author looking to market their own books in self-publishing, or a publisher in traditional publishing, is understanding the USP, Universal Sales Proposition. This is something that came into play several years ago. Going back in time, you heard commercials, "We offer this," or if you've ever dealt with printers, they talk about their capabilities. Nobody cares. The USP is the benefits. You are selling benefits. Also, KISS, which is coming from the computer acronym, yep, which always is a good thing in copy. Keep it simple, stupid.
Okay.
And lastly, understand who you're marketing to. Understand your niche. If you don't understand your niche, you cannot market.
You know, Ira, that is always a classic. It's I have a workshop coming up here actually in 2 weeks, Judith Briles Unplugged, and we've just got in. I'm really jazzed. We've got in our layout for our the game plan that they're going to be going through. Everyone's going to get a 2x4 sheet that everyone's going to be working on the wall throughout the weekend, but on one of the exercises. But it amazes me when I ask an author who their audience is, how they do not know, how they continue to tap dance, or they always say the universal, oh, it's everybody, which is so unbelievably wrong. It's never everybody.
Yeah. And it's. I think there are many authors who write for themselves. Hey, I haven't gotten back to it in a few years, but I'm halfway through a book of my life story, which, believe me, is a story.
Okay.
I did not. I took the path less chosen, to quote Frost, and it was a rather different life, just to leave it at that. But I was writing it for myself. You know, if it ever comes to fruition and I get to finish it, maybe there's a market for it. Unfortunately, that's not good enough if your intention is to be in the book business. The book business is like anything else. It's a business. And you cannot be in any business without having a business model, a business plan. If you're writing a book, who are you writing it for? If you're marketing the book, who are you marketing it to? If you have to, in essence, if you're looking for sales beyond your family and vanity publishing and self-publishing, you've sold your 100 books and you're now done, that's fine if that was your intent. If it, I don't mean to demean that. If it was not your intent, and your intent was to sell as many books as is humanly possible to be the next, Hemingway or whoever, then you need to pay attention to these things. You need a business plan. You need to start making a list. That's how you do a business plan. Ask the questions, and if you don't know the answers, get on Google. Do your homework. It's the world's greatest library. Many of the posts I write, I do my research before writing them. I don't assume that I have every answer. So do your homework and map out a business plan. You can go online with Google, and you can Google business plans. Download business plans, how to write a business plan, and fill it in, and make sure you're answering all the relevant questions so you know what you're doing. It's a lot easier to market something when you have a goal in mind. Without a goal, you're shoveling sand against the tide at midnight, out to sea. So it's a wasted effort.
Clearly. All right, so in that, let me add on one other thing, because you mentioned Google is the greatest library. Don't forget the library, because when you find we did on our Author Mentoring Mondays that we do a live open mic every Monday this week, and we had a librarian call in from Missouri, and oh my gosh, she was a wealth of information. And that these, men and women who do get librarian degrees are master researchers. And a lot of times, when you go in Google, you start throwing in some words and you're trying to track it. But sometimes it makes sense to have a real person saying, aha, but have you thought about drilling down into this area and this area and this area, who has been really trained into research on how to do the deep dive. So I'm telling you, when you really are trying to find things, don't forget a librarian who has got the training to take you into the Google search and find what you're looking for as well.
Absolutely. Any port in a storm. Again, it's like the issue of there are so many people, it's like the herd running off a cliff, yelling, print is dead. Everything is digital. We're only going to publish. I had one guy on 4 different websites, post groups on LinkedIn, that every time I put a post up, he would challenge me, and in the most obnoxious fashion, that what am I doing here? I have no right to be talking about print. This is a digital group. This is a book, self-publishers, independent. They don't want to know about print. Forget about it. You have to cover all ports. Frankly, all the stats say everything is leveled off, and you need to cross-market, and you need to there are people who want to buy books in print. What do? Tell them that sorry, I don't have any, we're out this week. You do both. And the interesting thing about Google that is interesting is like there is something in Google that kind of like is the robot librarian, not to in any way take away from your point, which is extremely valid.
Okay,
but that
Ira,
when you do
hold that, because we're going to come to another bottom break, and I want to come back on that, and I want to get into one of Seth Golden's recent blogs. This is Judith Briles,
okay.
Guide to Book Publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Colorhouse Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Colorhouse to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you with discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
Do you need postcards that make a statement? How about business cards, flyers, brochures, or NCR forms? Tuvets is the solution for all your printing needs. Providing services specially designed for authors, we deliver exceptional quality colored printing. Most important of all, we specialize in reducing your printing costs. No more waiting. No more standing in lines at your local printer. Online proofing. With our pricing tools calculator, you can get instant quotes on all your printing products, as well as shipping rates all over the United States. Just a few clicks of the mouse and you're on the way to discovering how easy and convenient online color printing should be. contact our friendly, human account representatives. We recognize that you want answers, not voice prompts. Visit our website at www.tu-vets.com or call 1-800-894-8977.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, I always love it when I have sole authors, sole service providers, and we can get going on a topic. Actually, we didn't even have it popped in as we were moving along this hour with Ira Blacker, who is a printer and has his own company and does books and all those wonderful new things. And you can find him at PBD Inc. So PD Inc. PBD Inc. Paul Barry David Inc.com. And that we were actually talking about print and just merging into versus electronic, and is print dead? Because there are a lot of people out there who say the print sky has fallen. The print sky has fallen. It's going away. You're never going to see it again. And I have felt for a long time, well, pooey on you. And just recently, I was in Columbus, Ohio for a speech, and I was flying back, and six seats across in the coach area, and sitting next to me was a young woman, and I was fascinated because she was going back and forth between her Kindle type apparatus and a print book. She was reading back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it was interesting, on the electronic version, her attention span was a nanosecond of maybe 15 seconds. And then as I looked across the row, everybody else is reading a print book. Okay, and so we're talking about the summer of 2013. As I looked a little ahead, I could see other electronic gadgets, but they were mostly being used for games, 1, or 2, it looks like deferred email, and 3, one person was had earbuds in and was watching a movie. But I wasn't seeing that, and what Ira was telling me off the air was that he had come across some data that was talking about retention rates with electronic reading versus actual physical print reading. So Ira, let's jump in here, and then I wanted to come back to a blog that actually Seth Golden, who has an enormous following, has been the print is falling guy person for a long time. And I wanted to bring that back up. So it all ties in together. So what's your take? What do you remember on all that?
Sure. First of all, people like Seth Golden who are preaching the nonsense they preach, their stuff lies in the face of reality. The statistics don't bear it out. What he has is not an audience. He has a herd. It's blind following, and it's just wrong-headed. First of all, people should do their own research. Don't believe everything you read in a blog for statistics. Google information such as statistics and look for, rather than blogs, look for actually firms that specialize in creating reports who create these statistics. And the statistics bear out that the retention from a handheld book is superior to the digital version. Furthermore, they've also found out that while everybody was screaming for a number of years every classroom should have a computer, that the retention with the students is superior with a book than from the computer. An interesting thing that you pointed out as far as digital and print, don't just depend upon Google because you might not know what to search on. That is a key thing. How does one search for something and get the results they look for? So utilizing a librarian, which is Dr. Brown's point of view, is an excellent point. Interestingly enough, though, if you do a search in Google, they have started, not quite so recently, but they've done it for a while. But the key is, and most people look for the first few results. I just put in, for example, in Google, book printing. No, I'm not on page one. One of our new members is. But if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, they have in-depth articles, so they're starting to show articles there. And below that, searches related to book printing. What Google is telling you is, by the way, don't just search book printing. Here are some other ideas you could search on. Book printing companies, custom book printing prices. In other words, this is how most people search for related topics. So that's where you can also get some tips on what else you need to be searching on. You might want to refine your search because book printing is too general. In web language, they refer to bang-tailed key phrases made up of 3 words, 2, 3, and 4 words, because that gives you a more finite search and gets you maybe closer to where you want to go. Interestingly enough, this whole attitude about this gentleman's blog that Doctor was referring to about print being dead, far from it. The stats indicate that the whole digital, I wouldn't quite say hype, but the digital revolution has leveled off. And there is a very big chunk of print sales out there, and very heavy, and you can't ignore it. Now, it is really irrelevant which is getting the higher sales. What is relevant is the fact that you have to address both. Number one, cross-marketing your product. Number two, selling in both marketplaces to those who want digital and to those who want a hard copy. So the issue is you just can't turn your back on those additional people who will only buy a book in print any more than you can on those who will only buy a digital. And if you do both, you have the ability to cross-market. In other words, buy my book, get a free digital copy, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a great ploy to do, especially when you're launching a book, a brand new book that you roll with print. I know that I'm working on my book number 31's in layout right now, and that we will do a variation that will give them, I know that when people see what it is, they will absolutely want the print book. You're going to want this book in print. And that you'll... To me, and talking with all the printers that we have worked with our clients under the Book Shepherd, that every one of them say they are at capacity right now. Of course, this is a heavier time as you go into the fall season in a lot of ways where there are Christmas printings going on and all that. I get that. But that they are saying that their sales are immense, and they've seen a huge pickup. When I talk to bookstores right now, I'm based in Colorado, What is your big independent bookstore where you live, Ira?
Or
do you have a big
trying
bookstore?
to think.
Or your major bookstore?
I'm trying to think who's left open. I'm one of those people because I've been online since '94. My first website went online. I buy online, so if I buy a book, I'll go to Amazon or whatever. I'll buy a hard copy, but I'll buy it online, so I don't have that extra shopping stop.
Got it. Well, listen, I buy hugely from Amazon, but I also I have never gone into a Costco that I haven't stopped. First place is the bookstore.
Oh, Costco, yes.
Yes, and I do go down, and we have the Tattered Cover here. And in Colorado, the Tattered Cover has 3 stores. And in talking with them, we had John Zeck, who is head of the Tattered Cover Press, which is their on-demand books, the espresso machine. He heads that up. And he says that they're seeing more traffic in the stores. They've got more sales going on. And what they're seeing is parents are now coming back. And when you come back, and which reminds me of what you said about the retention thing. I have a grandson who is going to be 10 he gobbles a book up a day. He loves reading. He loves these chapter books. My granddaughter, who will be 8, she's, has the squirrel effect. Whatever bling gets her attention, she's off and running. When I ask them what is going on in school, I had them this last weekend. When I asked them, tell me about what you're doing in school and what your studies are and going through it, that Ryan's retention, who is a voracious reader of print, his attention and in depth in detail is awesome in relationship to Bella, who doesn't really remember she says, well, we did social studies. They will tell me about what you did in social studies and going down. And there is not that retention because they're on the computers all the time and they're flipping about. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
Yep, I think you're right. Also, when I talk to my fellow vendors in the book end of the business, everybody is a capacity. You're absolutely right there. And when because I print magazines, catalogs, everything else, the book end is holding up the best.
Yep, I think so too, and it will. Well, Ira, we've got.
By the way, to answer your question about Los Angeles retail bookstores, the biggest chain in Los Angeles is. I'm just scrolling back. I jumped onto page 3 already. Let me get back to page 1. I believe it's Barnes and Nobles. They're actually a block and a half away from me.
And, B&N we talked about actually on the Author Mentoring Mondays and that what's going on there. And I think what we'll do is I'll come back and open up because I don't think Barnes & Noble is going to go away. I think that what they're doing, there's a lot of strategy with what's happening with some of the closed stores. But we'll get into that and much more in our final segment with Ira Blacker. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Writing and reading are moving to the cloud. WaveCloud represents a whole new community for writers and readers to connect, communicate, evaluate, and share. Writers hone their craft and build their business. Readers build their favorites. Sign up for updates at wavecloud.com.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Final segment, and I wanted to make sure that Ira talked about his new group that he just created on LinkedIn, and I wanted to encourage you to join it, as well as the Author U group. There has been a huge amount of dialogue. I know, Ira, that you see it about the publishing predators, and specifically it started off with someone who says, does anyone know about Balboa Press? I mean, it's a Christian publisher. It's got to be okay. And 280 comments later, it's not okay at all. And Ira has just started off a blog. So, I mean, not a blog, a LinkedIn group. So, Ira, tell us about it a little bit so they can find it.
Well, the group, first of all, is entitled Book Story, the story of books, authoring, publishing, marketing, sales. I'm trying to differentiate it from any other group on LinkedIn. The top of it has more of a web-style banner than you'll see normally in LinkedIn. The concept of it is that to bring in specialists, to basically talk about everything in the life of a book, from the creative germ through the sale and everything in between. So in that respect, rather than just have moderators who might not even, there are groups I belong to, let's say the group is about fish. I have seen moderators who are not even in the fish industry, so to speak. In this case, the moderators are there not because I'm stuck with handling the mechanics of the group, because I tend to be very prioritizational and extremely functional and quick when it comes to those kind of things. It was my belief that the moderators should be there with their expertise to be able to post on the expertise and to offer their expertise where they see discussions going down a particular path and people are searching for answers. They can jump right in. Example, if somebody posts, well, I'm about to, my book is now complete. I don't know what to do about publishing. Should I self-publish? Should I do this? Well, very simply, Judith is the moderator in charge of, publishing. There is an SEO guy. There is a book marketing guy. There is an editing and copy person. There is a marketing over the air person. There is a sales person, book design person. Currently, I'm looking for a book distributor, literary agent, ebook specialist, reviewers, book clubs, etc., so that it literally becomes a source of one-stop shopping for everything you may ever wanted to know about the book business, from the creation of the book through what do I do now once it's created, the marketing of the book, so on and so forth. And one thing that I'm happy with is that so far I believe we're now a day and a half old. There's already 132 members, and the quality of the membership is just absolutely superior. So I think we're on a good roll.
That sounds good. And
obviously,
I'm going to suggest for book reviews, go to Patty Thorne at Blue Ink Reviews, and I'll send you Patty Thorne and Blue Ink Reviews. I'll send you her email post the show.
Oh, please.
Please. And that'll take care of that. Okay.
Right, and you know, in along with that, some of the things I try to do is that one of my posts on the group was I did my research on the Google library, and I posted 1,000,001 places where you can get reviews in newspapers, where you can market, you know, your book. And I set it up as a PDF so people can download it. And it's a concise form. So again, it's becoming a highly informational site for authors.
Yeah, and that's what you find the go-to, and you get going on all those things on that. I mean, I have to tell you that I've got people. I'd like to figure out how to dump a whole bunch of old stuff, because we've got on the Author U, we've got more stuff that people post that is just junk, and I have to throw it out all the time. And I spend a lot of time doing that. I've actually removed some members because of that.
Yeah, I have only in the history of my doing this, being a moderator, which is probably I've been on LinkedIn for a few years, been a moderator of various groups now for about a year. I think I've only had to delete 3 members because I politely tell them, you know, here's the deal, please read the rules, and they're gone. Most people, when I say, here's what you need to do, they say, thank you for letting me know, and they simply do it. And the reason is, it's win-win. My philosophy has always been running my printing business, running any business, win-win. You win, I win. And it's just as ridiculous to simply like overly promote yourself and not know what you're doing as it is for someone to expect that, why am I doing this? What am I getting out of it? I'm entitled to get something out of it. You know, it's like Romney. He wouldn't defend himself for being a capitalist. Well, it's got to be a win-win. So that when you post, tell the reader how it benefits them. If you can't explain to the reader what the benefits are, then there are none. Then it goes into promotions. It's just that simple. There's only 2 rules. Write a concise, hopefully clever introduction as far as the topic, and then use the comments box to explain how the reader benefits. This way, the reader benefits and the poster benefits because they're actually learning marketing. You know, to simply put on a blog that might be very well written, very well informative, and I watch some of these people and they say, please check out my latest blog. Who cares? Nobody is going to check out your latest blog because nobody cares. There's nothing in it for them. You haven't told them what they get for doing so.
You know, and you're right, because I put up on a discussion, and I said, if you've got a blog that is pertinent to blah, 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 tell us why. And I did exactly that. Don't tell us to read your latest blog. I'm deleting, delete.
Yep.
So, and it's interesting that they don't get it. But if they don't get that, they're never going to be able to quickly articulate, this is what my book is about, this is who it's for, this is the pain I'm going to relieve, here are the solutions I'm going to give you, here's how I'm going to entertain you and, you know, knock your sauce off, you know, with my scary theme or my romance or my humor or fill in the blank. If they don't get it, they're going to fail here.
Exactly. Now, I want to also say there is a dichotomy when it comes to basic posts without the attachments. It doesn't really concern me what people post. You know, most of it is very good. Some of it is you wonder what they're talking about. So long as it pertains to the topic of books, I'm happy. So there is virtually no censorship, if you will, in that sense. The only censorship is if you're going to post a blog, people should have the right to walk with their feet if it doesn't interest them, and you should have the sense enough to know that if you want to attract eyeballs, do your homework.
Well, and the other thing is that if they don't attract it, although I found that a lot of people read, but they don't make comments, but they do the reading. So what the heck?
Yes,
you know.
I see that because I get those analytics from Google as who comes and reads them. And there were times when I'll post something. I mean, on the new group, I posted something. I thought it was really cool. I posted what became the Levi's jean commercial in the 70s. It was actually word jazz, word poetry, written by Ken Nordine. I got 0 comments in the day till it was up there. And the man's writing was just superb. I thought the stuff was so clever, so well written, but nobody cared. And, you know, when that happens, I start to feel a little rejection. But when I look at my analytics, who's coming to read the blogs, believe it or not, I'm getting several thousand people a month from LinkedIn alone who read the blogs but do not comment on them.
And that does happen. So, and you know, and I would encourage everyone on the blog that I put up on the authoru.org website. I identified the 8 key things that the ABC Shark Tank can teach authors. So I would encourage you all. Yeah, I do too. It's one of my favorites. So I'd encourage all of you to read the current blog, the 8 lessons that the Shark Tank has for authors today. All right, so we've got 2 minutes here before we close up. So any other last-minute tips you would like to share in the marketing printing world to our listeners?
Well, just to encapsulate, do not count out print because you'll count out a large segment of your sales. Cross-collateralize your efforts, both with respect to the product you're producing and how you market the product using a variety of print materials. From a simple thing like bookmarks, I hate to tell you how many authors I print books for. A lot of times I'll print some free bookmarks for them. They think it's wonderful. I mean, who's going to use the bookmark? Your potential customer. And it's got your advertisement on it. And if they may take a week or 3 weeks to read it, your message is in front of them.
Of course, just include it with your book and make sure that it refers to your website or your blog or anything else so they can stay connected, because it's about building your community. And with that, Ira Blacker, thank you so much for being with us today. You can find him, follow his blog that you can get over there at the pbdinc.com. I would encourage you to do that. Printing by Design is the blog. And with that, you're listening to Your Guide to Book Publishing. I'm Judith Briles. We are planning, if you haven't seen the new authoru.org website, certainly go over that. We've just done a full gutting and revamping. And my advice for you, revamp your own website. They all need morphing at least every couple of years. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.